Hello and welcome to the Great Dreamer Update Show. I'm Isaiah, your host for today, and today's show is going to be insane. We've got a lot of awesome skin, balance, and of course, the reveal of our newest god coming to SMITE, Cthulhu. And here to break things down with me, I've got AJ and somebody who hasn't been on the show for a long time. We got Clumsy with us. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Good, great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, this is the first time on my show like this. It's interesting.
Yeah, I know, yeah. As you guys can see, we're still working from home, practicing social distancing with everything going on, but the show must go on, and this show, like I said, it's going to be a banger. So let's go ahead and get right into it, guys. We got Balance coming you guys' way next week on June 2nd, and let's go ahead and start with Balance. First up is going to be Aphrodite, and she's going to be seeing a nerf here on Lovebirds. We're going to be decreasing the magical power scaling only for the heal on this ability, and then back off, we're going to be decreasing the magical scale on that ability by 10%.
Yeah, so talking about healers is always a really interesting discussion in the SMITE community. A lot of people are surprised to see healers overperforming. A lot of people really think that anti-heal is stronger than it is, I guess you could say. Always this big debate back and forth whether is anti-heal strong enough. You will see people complaining that healers are the strongest gods in the game, and then you will see people right there going, healers are completeless. All you have to do is buy anti-heal and they're just completely worthless. And I think there's a lot more complexity to this discussion than just those two extreme opinions that you tend to see. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, though, that Aphrodite has been overperforming in virtually every measurable way. Her performance in win rate, her pick rate, her ban rate, she's been showing pros, she's been dominating casual arena all the way to high rank conquest. Aphrodite is just really, really strong right now. Generally, what we want to do is nerf the healing in this case. We want this character to still be able to mid lane. We want this character to be able to still deal some damage, but the healing is a little over the top. Even her damage is a little beyond coming now, so that's coming down a little bit, but we're focusing on the healing even more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, next up on bonus balance, we've got Persephone. She's going to be seeing a nerf here. We're going to be decreasing the amount of damage she does while in her undead state from 50% down to 40%. We actually got another change. It's not going to be in bonus balance, but Persephone is now going to be slowed by 20% while in her undead state. This one just requires some additional work that is kind of outside of our normal bonus balance limitations.
Right, that additional change requires a code change to the ability, so that won't be launched in the bonus patch, but it will be in the main update. So Persephone is actually a very different case than Aphrodite. Persephone is very highly prioritized, very high ban, very high perception of strength, but generally her performance metrics are much lower. A lot of people struggle to character, so what we're doing is nerfing Persephone in a way to address specific frustration points, specifically when she dies and she keeps fighting. That's a really hard thing to counter, really hard thing to fight back against an immune character that you've already killed, right? That's kind of crazy. So adding a little bit more checks in place to prevent that.
Cool. All right, next up on the list for bonus balance, we've got Raijin and Taiko Drums. We're going to be decreasing the base damage per shot from 120 to 240 down to 100 to 240. So a little bit of an early level nerf on his damage there.
Man, really all hitting you mid laners hard today, huh, Clumsy?
Hey, it happens. I mean, Raijin makes sense, right? He went from having like almost a 0% like presence in the SPL at all, and then now he's almost like 100%. You see him all the time. He's almost rivaling Merlin as well. And I like the change we did here because we're hitting that early game where we brought it up a little bit with the Raiju changes, and now, but it's going to be scaling to the exact same amount late game because the late game wasn't really what was impressive. It was his smooth transition to the late game.
To me, this was really specific point that we saw Raijin overperforming. You could see this consistently in pro matches. We've been adjusting his lane forth for years, really. Yeah. It feels like that's in a good spot, but we were seeing Raijin just straight up kill the enemy mid laner one-on-one at level 5. Even when the Raijin was already way behind, things were going poorly, but then they're just like, nah, drums go boom, 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 and they kill someone. So we wanted to tone down just that level 5 damage and scale that back up to normal. So I think it's going to be a really good change for the mid lane, especially in the Pro League.
For sure, yeah. Raijin's definitely been highly contested in Pro League, so this change does bring him down just a little bit. And then we only got one more for bonus balance.
Drums
Bonus
go
balance is
boom.
kind of short this week. The last change is for Shibalanke, going to be seeing a nerf to branching bola, and we're going to be decreasing the damage on the bolas from 40% to 35%, and then also increasing the mana per shot.
So keep in mind, bonus balance a little bit shorter this because we nerfed 9 of the top meta
Yes.
gods last update.
That's a
We
lot.
went really hard on it. We're nerfing all. We were really focusing on all these top meta gods. We're hitting everyone. X-Ball himself also we put into this category of top meta. He is one of these picked characters in all of Smite ranked, especially at high end, if not the most picked. Maybe tied with Sobek, he's up there. His ban rate not climbing as high, but his pick rate through the roof, performance absolutely through the roof as well. Just making a very slight tweak here, not a super huge nerf, bringing back that branching bola damage somewhere in between where it was before, adjusting these mana costs yet again. This has always been a difficult balancing point for X-Ball as well, but the current mana costs are just, we think, way too forgivingly low. I'm not limiting him at all, and with the bonus branching bola damage, those two things combined. So toning these back just a little bit, this character being one of the most picked, most played hunters in the entire game, this is a really fair change for him.
Yeah, once you have the Hunter's Blessing, you're pretty much, I think, almost mana positive when using your branching balls in the early levels. So
Yes.
it was like a no-brainer to just keep it on, and that was just a little too unnecessary. So now you actually have to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, or it's going to constrain his build a little bit more.
Yep, cool. So that wraps it up for bonus. It's heading you guys' way next week, Tuesday, June 2nd. We also got we got a few really cool skins coming out next week as well. And we're going to start it off with Caustic Size New Wa. And this is one that looks really awesome. It's kind of in that theme. I believe we had a Yamoja skin sort of in the same theme earlier, but she's looking awesome.
Yeah, beautiful. Kind of your radioactive superhero, supervillain.
That's super.
That looks
yeah, I see what you mean now.
no.
By it's like the same theme as the Emoja, but like same like genre, and I like that a lot.
And now
love the gas
we gotta
mask,
hype up
the
the
aesthetics.
effects. You'll have to go wait to see on the PTS or when they launch her through the Q&A streams if we do one of those. But her ultimate drops these big mushroom cloud nukes on everybody, which is awesome.
Oh, nice. That is
it's super
awesome.
badass.
Sweet. All right, next up we've got Vamp Tech Camazotz. And Camazotz hasn't had a skin in a very long time. And this one is absolutely amazing. Like, look at this. This card art is awesome.
I love this.
The card art really does an awesome, gives you that kaiju versus mech like grand scale.
Exactly.
And we were really excited to try a mech on such a non-humanoid, unique character shape. Really different than a lot of our other mechs who are more, traditional male humans. So really unique there.
That mecha spine is super cool. I think it works really well on Camazotz.
I know. I'm loving the colors and all the mech skins. I love like the tiny little details we always put in the armor. It's like little Easter eggs in there that you find. It's super cool.
Yeah. Just
all right,
happy to get a god of skin who's not got one in a while, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's been a long time, a couple years, I think, for Camazotz. But he's getting one in grim moments. Next up on the list, we've got Spell Chanter Apollo. And Apollo is looking super clean in this new skin. I'm loving it.
I mean, I know for several gods we can say like, oh, this is the skin for the god that I'm going to be playing. I think this is it for me. It's going to be kind of close for the Smite Cart Racer Apollo, right? But this is awesome.
This one's really cool. It's a more magical take on him.
For sure, yeah. And I've got a couple notes here on Apollo. He's going to be available in the Adventuring Collection bundle. And this is kind of a new bundle system we're doing for this skin. This bundle is going to include this Apollo skin, 2 profile cosmetics, and 3 past exclusive skins for Achilles, Nox, and Neath. So you can get the bundle, but if you already own some of the past exclusive skins, the bundle is going to be discounted for you.
Right. We're combining these skins into a bundle that a very similar skin theme. So for people who are really big fans of certain types of skins, you can get them all at once. A way to get a couple of the older ones you haven't had access to. And if you already own those, you'll be able to get the new one for a really good deal too.
Exactly. And if you don't want to purchase the bundle, you'll still be able to get Apollo direct, just like we've been doing for all of our exclusive skins recently.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Cool. All right. And then last up, we've got Wave Rider Awelish. And the community has been asked for summer skins for a long time. And we are happy to deliver. This one is super awesome.
Nice.
Summer skin, yeah. So, a lot of people miss the summer of Smite of the old days, and we want to do a summer skin this summer. So this is our premier summer skin of 2020 on that awesome jet ski.
Oh,
This Wave
that's
Rider
really
is
cool
awesome.
in the game.
Reminds me of that old game. What was it, like Hydro Thunder or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yo, Wave Race from N64.
Yeah, Wave
that's
Race.
That's what
Wave
that's
Race.
all about,
Yeah.
dude. I love that Wave Race. So I've been picking up
But yeah.
jungle lately, and I've been playing this skin and playtesting. It's been really fun.
Awesome. Yeah. I love the blues and orange. This one is for awesome. So that is the last skin headed your way on June 2nd. And that wraps it up for the bonus update. We're through that pretty quick, guys. Let's move on to some community news. So this weekend for you guys, we've got a party up weekend going on. So if you're at home chilling, want to get together with your friends, you can earn 2 times favor worshippers and XP if you're a party of 2. But if you're in a party of 3 or more, you'll be able to earn 3 times favor worshippers and XP.
Oh.
So the more friends you've got, the more
Nice.
rewards.
Dang.
I know, right? But never a better time to grind out some worshippers with some buddies.
Yep.
Cool. All right, and then next up, I just want to remind you guys about SPL coming up this week. Phase 1 is winding down, and the league has been absolutely incredible, especially towards the second half of this phase. Everybody's looking super competitive, and Radiance versus Ghost on Friday is what I'm looking towards.
It's been really fun watch this year. All of the games feel really close. I feel like it's this land is going to be anyone's.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely amazing. Cool. All right, and then a couple of notes for some stuff that's coming you guys' way. Next patch, we've got another bundle from Red Bull Records. We're going to be featuring the band The Aces. They're going to be having a music theme, jump stamp, cosmetic avatar, all that cool stuff. And then also, if you guys missed out on some of the past Red Bull Records stuff, we've got the Red Bull Records music chest that you guys can roll and able to unlock all of those past music themes for like AWOL, Beartooth, Flaws. I know a lot of people have been loving rocking those music themes, especially AJ and his AWOL Nation. So
people ask me about it all the time. I
those.
love that fact, dude. I've been rocking it since day one.
I know, it's awesome. So if you want to, get a chance at those themes, you can roll that chest. And then last but not least, we've got the Ruby skin back next update. So if you missed out on the Ruby Battle Pass late last year, you guys are going to be able to unlock Ruby Rose Thanatos, Waishni Freya, Blake Belladonna, Amaterasu, and then Yang Xiaolong Terra, as well as Classic Ruby Rose. They're going to be available for purchase in-game for a limited time coming in this next update. So if you guys missed out, definitely be sure to take advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Nice.
That wraps it up for community news. And speaking of Ruby, if you guys aren't familiar, we've got a trailer to show off for you guys. We'll be right back after the break. All right, welcome back, everybody. Definitely looking forward to those Ruby skins. They're so impact. They're some of my favorite skins to use in game. But now let's get talking to the 7.6 update that's coming out June 16th. Let's start off with Project Olympus, and we've got UI notes that we want to talk about. The first one is going to be some more home screen improvements headed you guys' way, specifically in the form of a new quest mini UI bar that you guys can check out in order to better see your quests whenever you're in game.
Yeah, the home screen updates from last update went really well. We've got a lot more stuff planned, a lot of little fixes and tweaks from the home screen update, and then a lot of other new features as well, like this quest tracker feature, where previously it's been really hard to kind of find your quests in Smite, and we're also going to be looking to make sure we sort them in a way that's useful to you, so you can see your time-limited ones, your battle pass ones, your event quest ones, really front and center, so you know what you need to be trying to do in game.
For sure. All right, next up on UI for Project Olympus, we're actually going to be making some changes to the queue display timer on PC. I know when we released the new UI,
Right.
there was
Right.
some community feedback on how some things felt kind of unintuitive. So you're now going to be able to the X with the name of the queue. It's now going to cancel the queue that you're in, and then also clicking the timer bundle. The timer banner is now going to take you back to the play screen whenever you're in queue.
Right, we split that one button into two buttons with more specific functionality for the two. It's really nice. It's a good improvement.
All right, next up on Project Olympus, we've got a gameplay change, and then this one has been talked about.
This is some good
Olympians,
stuff.
community feedback, everyone. We've
This
added
is
numbers to
really
the health bars for jungle monsters.
Yeah, so right there above those red health bars, you can see the real-time current health of the jungle camps. This will help you make sure you use the right amount of abilities or attacks, or help you if you're in a sort of combat situation with another team. You need to secure it. This is the real-time feedback you're going to need to do that really skillfully. Also applies to minions in a really interesting way too, which you can see them on certain lane minions, whichever one you're currently targeting. So with your basic attack, it'll pick like closest to center, front and center of you, and show you the health on that one. It's really nice. It's a really helpful feature.
Awesome. Yeah, super happy to get that in game. But let's go right into balance, and we're going to start off with game modes. And we've got some changes to duel up first. We've reduced the level factor and respawn times 50%. We've increased the match time factor by 30%. And then we've also capped the maximum respawn time at 45 seconds.
So this is kind of a hard one to understand just by looking at the numbers. The duel feedback we were receiving is that players who were actually winning the duel were being punished too much by the respawn timers for being ahead, right? In Smite, generally, we do a little bit of snowballing and counter snowballing feature, right? And the way respawn timers work, you're ahead, your respawn timer is going to be longer than the player behind. So we're maintaining that truth. Like if you're ahead, your respawn timer is still going to be a little more than the player, but we're significantly reducing it, making it closer. So we don't punish the player who's ahead so much. This is what we want to make sure that players who are being aggressive in duel and attacking and fighting and going for objectives aren't getting really punished just by one mistake in the late game when they've been ahead the whole time. So this is going to be a small change, mostly geared towards the feedback we've gotten from a lot of Olympians and dual streamers. So we really appreciate that feedback.
Yep, for sure. All right, next up, we've got change to Conquest here. Totem of Coup, we're going to be increasing the team-wide bonus from 20 to 25.
Yeah, this is a small one. We're not going to get too into it because Clumsy and I are about to talk a lot more about the solo lane here in a second. We want to encourage aggression, and we want to make it feel like gaining an advantage in the solo lane actually matters overall the scope of the game. So we're increasing the reward from this div a little bit, but we have other things to go along with this concept.
Cool. All right. Speaking of solo lane, let's get right into it. We're going to move on to items.
This is a big
Warrior's
one.
Blessing up first. Do you guys just want to take the reins before I read off all the bullet points and kind of give some preface?
I mean, it's tough to explain when you just read it because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
what you're going to see here is a pretty big shift to Warrior's Blessing. We're going to be nerfing the tankiness and the sustaininess of this item, and we're going to be buffing its aggression factor. So we're removing the flat damage reduction per source, replacing that with a little bit of protection. So that's a nerf. We're going to be nerfing the sustain, so you get from the trigger from 40 health and mana to 25 health and mana, but we're also adding a new bonus damage trigger that deals 25 true damage to a single god targeted on the same timer as the sustain. It's a really big change to blessing, so this could have really widespread meta impact. But what we're doing is we're doing this to focus on the community feedback that solo lane doesn't feel impactful and doesn't feel like you can really get a lead or get ahead. This is being done so that solo laners can be more aggressive and really play to their strengths and try to capitalize over their opponent and make plays.
Yeah, this is something that we've wanted to do for a little while. Previously, with the other iteration of Guardian's Blessing, it was a little bit harder because that's what people would fall back onto. But now that we've set the sustain off that, so you really are incentivized to be with another person in your lane, we don't really expect to see that many Guardian's Blessing back in solo lane, if at all. But I mean, just based on our play experience, we can see that there's a lot more lethality in the solo lane, and it's making it so that people can actually die there a little bit more often. And especially when a jungler comes in gank, it's something that you can actually do that's a little bit more feasible.
So this is just the start We're looking towards mid-season, likely coming very soon, which we'll talk about a little bit more later in today's patch. And we'll be looking at more solo lane itemization and more encouraging of aggression and making sure that that role feels impactful in the mid-season. But we had this change ready to go. We didn't see anything to delay it, so we wanted to get this out there, get some feedback, and get some testing in as soon as possible to even possibly still influence some of the changes we're already working on towards mid-season.
Cool. All right, let's move right along. We've got Baron's Brew up next, and we're making a change here. The stack durations, they're going to now stack, but begins when entering the fountain, kind of making a change to make it more consistent with the other chalices.
Yeah, exactly. It's really about keeping it consistent with Health and Mana Chalice. We did that pre for them, but we didn't touch Baron's Brew, which functions pretty much the exact same way. So now it's going to just be in pair.
Just a consistency fix.
Cool. All right, next up, Katana. We're going to be decreasing the price here from 700 to 650. Tier 2 and 3 items, the costs are going to remain unchanged, though.
Correct.
Except for one.
Except for one, which we're also going to change. But currently, right now, the community is a little down on basic attack-focused assassins, Mercury, Kali, etc. We're seeing some Kali pick in the Pro League. That's not really translating well to a lot of the rest of the game. So we're looking to buff a little bit these gods like Baka, Kali, Mercury, etc. And this is a good way just to even out their starting itemization.
Cool. All right, let's move on and let's talk about Golden Blade. We're going to be decreasing the cost from 2,200 down to 2,000. And then we're also going to be increasing the attack speed from 15% to 20%.
An item that a certain junglers rely on getting this really early. So we're just now that this is melee only, we have and doesn't work on abilities like Mercury's. We have solved a lot of the break case of this item, and it's pretty safe to buff. So this is a pretty big Arachne buff, possibly Bakasura, Kali, some other characters like that. So possibly a pretty big buff. So we're really interested to see what happens. Players' perception of those characters is pretty low right now.
And with a lower price point, it's possible you might be able to flex this back into solo lane as well, get maybe some assassins in there too. Bring us back to those days.
I do love me some assassins. I love me some assassins in solo.
Cool. All right, and then the last category for items is a big one, movement speed. Let's talk about movement speed, guys, before I go down and list everything that we're doing about it.
Yeah, so recently we've seen a movement speed meta most popular in the solo lane on tier. We've been seeing that rising in popularity, and we are very quick to react to movement speed metas. It's a dangerous stat for the game. It can lead to almost cases that feel really trolly or memey or frustrating or even like abusing game mechanics. So we're going to be nerfing movement speed, the specific movement speed on a whole bunch of items to slightly de-incentivize this type of option. Now, I know a really popular suggestion was to actually adjust the movement speed diminishing returns as a whole. And Clumsy and Pawn and we completely roughed out a whole plan for this and really tried to compare the two against each other. And really, we were concerned about changing the diminishing returns rules because it was almost certainly going to affect gods in ways that we don't intend. A lot of gods already cross into this kind of middle tier of DR for movement speed. It's very common for you hitting that threshold. So adjusting that is going to nerf all the movement speed of a lot of characters all across the game. So specifically, we chose to focus on items instead.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, I'll run through it. The following items are going to have their movement speed decreased by 3%. Traveler shoes and Talaria boots going from 25% to 20%. And then Winged Blade from 10 to 7%. Relic Dagger, Toxic Blade, Witch Blade, and Adventurer's Blade, all going from 10% down to 7% movement speed.
Now, we know some people might not feel like all those items need nerfs, but we wanted to be really clear and consistent with the movement speed. If some of those items need buffs in other places, we'll certainly consider that in future patches. But we wanted all of them to have the same amount of movement speed reduction because we really want to prevent this spamming of movement speed build.
For sure. All right, that wraps it up for items. Let's get right into gods. And Amuzan Cobb is up first. Bees, we actually just fixed a text issue showing the wrong base damage. But for Hive, we're going to be decreasing the cooldown from 14 seconds to 12 seconds. And then we're going to be increasing the scaling from 70% to 80%.
Yeah, Muzenkab was one of those gods that was like really meta for a little while, and then little nerfs like weren't doing it right. And then at some point in the nerfs, he just tanked incredibly. I believe it was around the launch, maybe a new season, Clumsy, where he really just fell off.
Yeah, ever since we changed it so that you can't apply item effects on bees, right? Like that started
Ah,
the
right.
trend. It was being played in the SPL a lot, and like there's a time where that didn't matter, right? That's been in the while, and then he's got getting played a lot, and then ever since then, we've had to find incremental ways of kind of bringing him back, and I think this is the latest iteration of that.
Yeah, so we want Hives impactful. Those are really important to his kit and kind of what his whole shtick as a character. And then also specifically Swarm's late game damage. AMC tends to be a strong late game god. When he's too good in the early game as well, that's when we get really scared about him overtaking the meta.
Yeah.
So we felt safe about buffing Swarm's scaling, not base damage.
Cool. All right. Next up on the list, we've got Baba Yaga. And then first up on Creeping Cabin or passive, just a note on and clarification on a bug fix that went in this patch. It is intended for Baba Yaga's cabin to body block players. We fixed some instances where that wasn't in the last patch. There was a lot of confusion, so we want to clarify. Yes, it is intended for the cabin to body block people. Next up for Home Sweet Home, her ultimate, decreasing the minimum fire range from 10 down to 4, and Baba Yaga is now going to be immune to backpedal and strafe penalties while in her cabin. And then last up for Blast Off, she's now going to have knock-up immunity and damage reduction during the pre-fire animation.
So a lot of quality of life buffs, I guess you could say, for Baba. We're getting more control over her kit. Finding a lot of ways to make sure she feels good to play. If she still needs performance improvements after this, certainly go back and look at some damage numbers and things like that. But we were focused more on application of her ability. So Blast Off, interrupting Blast Off is kind of a really important part of her kit. Blast Off is a really good movement ability. She's Baba is really one of the safest mages in the game. If you don't just run into the enemy team with Creeping Cabin or with Home Sweet Home, as people tend to do. But if you play really safe with Baba, you can really avoid death in a lot of ways. So we're making Blast Off's rules more consistent across it. It had essentially a short setup time and then a pre-fire time that were behaving differently. So now that's all going to behave the same way. You still want to go ahead and try to stun Baba out of this. It's a really big point of counterplay against her. As for Home Sweet Home, we really just wanted to improve the control. So now you'll be able to move omnidirectionally all at the same speed. It's going to prevent people from running in and getting themselves killed with Home Sweet Home, as they tend to do. And then also, if you happen to get dove while you're in the cabin, you'll be able to look more down right at Baba's feet and throw those projectiles point blank, which is a really strong strategy if you get collapsed on, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, next up on the list, we got Kronos. And Kronos is the first of a lot of magical ADCs seeing some quality of life changes, and a couple of them seeing some additional buffs. But for Kronos, we're going to be increasing the basic attack style speed from 100 to 110, and then Accelerate, we're going to be increasing the movement speed from 15% to 20%.
With the basic attack projectile speed, so we did a change, a while ago to nerf the rings a little bit for basic attack mages, and the one we didn't change that we actually added for Oleron on his release was that Oleron has a basic attack projectile speed of 110, which matches Hunters, while other mages usually just have 100. I wanted to go back, and now that we've assessed where basic attack damage mages have kind of landed up, especially with all the different ring changes we've made, we wanted to bring them back to the level of Hunters with this projectile series. So as you said, Isaiah, we're going to be seeing that with Kronos, Sol, and Freya. They're all going to be going from 100 to 110 to match Oleron and other Hunters.
Interesting note on Accelerate is it ramps up to a certain movement speed as well. So we're just increasing the lower end. It's not increasing the top end of Kronos, but it's giving him a little bit more of a boost at the start. Kind of a staple of Kronos. And since we're nerfing all those other movement speed items, it seems somewhat safe to give this, because this is a god who specifically relies on that movement speed. Seems like a safe shift to us, and we haven't seen Kronos much in the meta lately, so we're trying to give him a chance to come back.
Cool. All right, speaking of somebody who hasn't been in the meta for a little bit, we've got Fenrir up next. Brutalize. We're going to be decreasing the cooldown from 14 seconds to 12 seconds.
Yeah, this is like a small change, but this is his primary jungle clear ability. This is a high damaging ability. I think the pro Fenrirs out there would definitely say that his leap is more key to PvP combat, because Brutalize can often get you in trouble, can get you, get interrupted, etc. But still, a 2-second cooldown change on a key ability, we expect to see him rise up in the meta for sure. And Fenrir has just been really nowhere to be seen lately. It's almost like we never even released him.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good to.
Right?
Unleashing him over here now, unleashing his brutalized capabilities. I mean, we've given him a lot of quality of life changes with his runes over the last years, basically.
True.
And we do, people are just like, this is going to be it. Now he's going to be really strong, and then they play him for a little while, and it drops back down a little bit. So the cooldown, I think, is going to be a nice change, especially like you said, for his jungle clear.
Yeah, I hope we see more of him. I mean, and not in support, I guess. Although that was pretty cool too.
Cool. All right, next up is on the list. We got Freya. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but she's getting the same change that Kronos got, increasing that basic attack projectile speed from 100 to 110. And then after Freya, we've got Ganesh. Turn of Fate. We're going to be making a change here. Hitting an enemy god with the ability is now going to provide 2 stacks instead of 1.
Yeah, a lot of really comeback we've been getting for Ganesh for a long time is that his Turn of Fate is not nearly as good in team fights as it is in lane, because it's much harder to get the full stacks. So now we're giving you double the stacks for hitting God. You'll be able to actually power up your team more often. I'm really excited about this change. Surprisingly, we have seen slightly more Ganesh in the Pro League than we had all earlier this year, and around the time we were adjusting this change. But this should be a really good change for your average Ganesh player, and I believe the Olympians were definitely a big factor in pushing for this.
Yeah. Cool. All right, next up, Guan Yu getting a little bit of a quality of life change to his passive Painless. When the passive is about to fade, there's going to be an additional effects that will play. And then we also fixed an issue where some skins were missing the passive effect entirely.
This one's great just for playback, both for the Guan Yu and the opponent. You should just have a better idea of if he's charged up from his passive and when it's going to fade. Just Neja is the common comparison we use internally for this type of event. Neja's we thought was really successful and really added to the feel of playing Neja, made it feel better to play. So looking forward to this one too.
Cool. All right, moving right along. Isis up next. Wing Gust. We're going to be increasing the damage from 30 to 110, moving that up to 35 to 115.
It's just dropped off, right?
Yeah, I was going to do a little bit of preamble, but basically ever since the changes we made, she skyrocketed, and then we did nerf after nerf after nerf after nerf. Well, guess what? She's on the bomb right now.
Yeah. So bringing it back, focusing on her specific feature that she tends to do so well, which is getting that early lane clear pressure. We nerfed this as one of the later ends of the nerfs on Isis, and this is really what pushed her over the edge from. Honestly, was one of the best mages in the game for many months. Now has skipped the entire middle ground to the very bottom. So trying to bring her back to someplace in the middle.
Cool. All right, next up we've got Nemesis, God who also hasn't been seeing some play in the meta for a long time. We're going to be increasing the power gain and power lost in Scale of Fate from 5% to 7%, and then we're going to be decreasing the max stacks from 4 to 3.
So we buffed Nemesis recently, and we got pretty clear feedback that it was not a very satisfying buff. Still trying to be careful with Nemesis. We have been through Nemesis metas in the past. Her ultimate being unmissable and being very strong and having a lot of good applications, tanking or target focusing, really dangerous to buff that ultimate. So we're looking for ways we can buff the kit in a way that feels meaningful. This is a really nice change. Now the single in-hand cancel, a lot more impactful than having to stack a lot of basic attacks. Lets her get that power, those power shifts going quicker, and it is just a slight buff overall. That little 1%. But it's more about that 2% more on the first swing. So I think this is going to feel good. This is going to feel a little better. It's still not necessarily going to break her, which we're trying to be really careful on purpose.
Yeah. Cool. All right, next up we've got New Wa, and then similar to what we did with Artemis and Tusky last patch, we've kind of gone under the hood and made a lot of fixes and quality of life improvements to her clay soldiers. So we increased the charge rate from 25 to 30%, then a slew of bug fixes that we've done. You can check them out on the patch notes, which are live on the site now if you guys want to follow along.
Yeah, let's not read these all individually. There's a lot of things going on here, but it's essentially the full Tusky brain surgery, but on Nuwa's clay soldiers, along with an actual charge range buff. mostly for quality of life and for feel, because that was making it feel like the minion should charge, but then they weren't. So you'll see here a whole wide range of changes. She's a lot better.
For sure. All right, next up on the list, we've got Soul. She's getting that magical ADC change that Kronos and Freya got, but also we're making it to Unstable Manifestation. We're going to be increasing the magical power bonus from 0.8% to 1%.
Similar story as Isis, right, Clumsy?
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but like when we did those initial unstable manifestation nerfs, right? Because this is kind of a revert I think we did a while
Yeah.
back. We brought back half of it. We didn't bring up this part specifically, but we noticed that recently we gave Soul quite quality of life changes. We even buffed her ulti a little bit and the speed of that. But what she really was missing was still scaling on her passive, which allows her to make her basic attacks just a little bit more chunkier, which she just needs to be able to continue throughout the game.
Yeah, this power bonus, we were nerfing a lot of parts of Soul Kit bit by bit. We nerfed this passive in a bunch of different ways, and that just took Soul way further than expected. We've been kind of slowly bringing her back. We think this is going to be a really nice place to bring her back right here.
I think Soul as well will probably be the one that benefits probably the most from the basic attack projectile speed. I know when I play Soul and Freya and Kronos, I don't really notice that slower projectile, but definitely with Soul, there's something about like the effects changing, the more the passive you have as well, that the speed will really help that feel better.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next up on the list, we've got a Guardian. We've got Terra, and we're going to be decreasing the pre-fire time on the first basic attack in our hit range from 0.5 seconds to 0.3 seconds.
This is a small quality of life buff. We're really looking to make the character feel better to play. We also look at other characters that have a similar issue. Characters with really long pre-fires on their first basic attack, and you start attacking, and it starts slowing you immediately, right? A lot of times you're right on top of someone, and you start punching, and it slows you, and then you miss. And it feels really bad. So Terra is the first one. Terra, always pretty interesting balance discussion. She's generally pretty popular in the pro league, generally not very popular and not doing super well anywhere else. So people often, buff or nerf her. People are mad at you. But we really wanted to focus on feel and quality of life. And since Terra's basics are really important to hit because of her passive, this was the first god that we chose to look into this. But we were all evaluating a lot of other gods, and we might do this in the future. Regardless of balance point, we might do this as a way of just quality of life and better feeling abilities and better feeling gods.
All right, last up on the list for gods, we've got Zhang Kui, and we're going to be making a change to Demon Bag. We're going to be decreasing the max souls from 60 down to 40, and then also increasing the magical and physical protection per stack from 0.5 to 1. So the total protections are going from 30 to 40. So big buff here.
Through revert.
Yeah, I was going to say, this feels like the revert that we did. Honestly, time's been going pretty crazy. So I think it was last year, right, where we had the crazy dual lane meta. There was just mages everywhere in the SPL. This was one of the reasons why we actually brought the nerf to Zhang Kui. But now that meta is like just been gone for a long time, we wanted to bring this because he's just been non-existent, and we think this change was actually pretty impactful to help him out in the mid lane. And maybe
we're looking at characters that were nerfed because of specific metas. And now that we're not in those metas anymore, we can bring back their key features. Really, like we really don't like when God's key features get erased. And to us, with Zhang, it's all about the beef, right? Zhang Kui has got to be a little tanky. That's what just feels right when you're playing him. So this is where we chose to buff him as opposed to looking at damage or like self healing or anything like that. So I know everyone wants to hurry to Cthulhu, but you got to get a Zhonger buff in there on the way. Come on.
There you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been like smiling this entire time just because we're almost there.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. Just a couple more things to talk about. Wraps it up for balance, but next up, we've actually got a visual update to the arena map coming. AJ, you want to talk about what's going on in arena?
Oh yeah, this is a big surprise, kind of out of nowhere. We have been working a lot on our maps, and we have a lot more interesting stuff coming up. I can't say too much about it yet, but in this update, along with Cthulhu, is coming the Cthulhu Arena. It's going to be an art update to the base arena. It's not going to be a new game mode or anything like that. It's just a full art update.
Yes.
The arrival of Cthulhu, the arena has sunk to the bottom of the ocean and has been corrupted by all sorts of creepy cosmic horror and underwater creatures. You're going to see the environment art completely changed. to be in this underwater space with a lot of like new overgrowth and tentacles and other creepy things. And you're also going to see the minotaurs remodeled, as well as the jungle camps and the minions changed. Some of changed a little bit more than others, but all of them changed to fit the new theming.
Yeah, this looks super cool, and just the fact that you're going to be fighting like in an underwater abyss is like super
It's
awesome.
so cool,
And the
dude.
environment art, all the tentacles, especially that chaos side, man, it looks so
Yep.
creepy.
Yeah. Oh, the Minotaurs look so badass. The new Minotaurs.
They do.
One that's more like cosmic horror themed, and one side is more deep sea themed. And we're focusing on Arena this update, but I am going to confirm right now that next update is mid-season, so you're going to get a lot of changes to itemization and larger scale meta changes, as well as conquest changes. And there'll be a lot of big announcements next update. So just
We're already at
Arena's
mid-season
just the start.
gameplay?
I know,
Yeah,
right?
we're
It's
already at
crazy.
mid-season. I know,
Mid-season's
so
coming up soon.
So we're looking at Arena now, but a lot of update for mid-season and Conquest coming next update, and some big announcements for the future of Smite next update. So even though we're psyched about Cthulhu, I mean, next update show honestly still rivals Cthulhu, as crazy as that sounds. I know
Oh,
you don't believe me
definitely.
right now.
It's
You're
nuts.
just going to have to wait and see. You're just going to have to wait and see.
Cool.
The
All right,
Arena
let's
also
go ahead
has
and talk
one
about some of
mechanical
the...
change.
Oh, yeah.
Was
go
I
about
going to that
Arena.
too? One small mechanical change. Sorry, Isaiah. We're adjusting the way minions give tickets via last hits. Now Arena will give minions will subtract tickets as long as they were recently damaged. Like the same types of rules for XP and gold. So last hits won't matter as much in Arena. We had a lot of players always kind of asking us, I mean, the game is tied. It's 5-5. We've been playing there. We've been killing the minions, but for some reason we're behind a bunch of tickets. I don't understand it. So really, that's what we're looking into. Making this just like a more consistent, more understandable experience. Should not change the balance point of Arena too much.
Cool. All right, let's get into some of the skins that are coming out in the Great Dreamer update, and let's kick it off with your boy Fafnir, AJ. Sin of Greed Fafnir. He hasn't gotten a skin in a long time,
Finally!
but this is
That's
looking
super cool.
absolutely amazing, and the Imp and the Dragon are super awesome.
Yeah. People have been wanting kind of demonic skins with a little bit of a 7 deadly sins kind of theming before, and as we were talking about Fafnir, he's all about greed and gold. We kind of went in on that. You have here a very different take on him in kind of different shaped armor, and he's missing his eyes and face, almost like his helmet is fused into his body. It's really cool. And I did design Fafnir, one of my favorite guardians to play. And poor fella just hasn't gotten skins in quite a while because he's
I
not
know.
super popular outside the pro league. So here it is, finally, 4 years later or something. We did it.
I know. And then another guy who hasn't gotten a long skin in a pretty long time is Hachiman, and he's going to be donning the Funpocalypse theme in his skin.
Yes, this one's crazy.
That card art is
zebra
creepy.
I know.
The guys
right?
in the
It's
back
supposed to be
standing.
creepy.
No. I think that's what makes this genre really stand out.
Yeah, for sure. So he's going to be joining
Look at that sword.
Uller and Shibalanke on this theme.
I love
And
this
this
theme
kinda
because
like-
it's such a unique post-apocalyptic universe. It's like part scavenger, part Clash of Clans, part warriors. You never really know what you're going to see here, and this character has so many cool details in its armor.
Yeah, I know. I love the jack he's got on his back with the arrow quiver. It's super cool.
It's a golf bag, I think.
Yeah,
That's a sports
Yeah,
It looked
bag.
like a jetpack. Maybe it was a golf bag.
Like
Who
he
knows?
just
Who
went into
knows?
the store and looted that thing. He was like, "Yup, this is gonna work," and off we go.
Yeah, this
Plus
is
2
for
to
me.
inventory size.
All right, next up on the list, coming in the last chapter of Grim Moments, is Senshi Bologna, and this is right up my alley. You guys know I'm all about the anime,
Oh,
and
look
this
at that.
one looks super awesome.
How many years, Isaiah, have we waited for anime schoolgirl Bologna warrior?
I know, so many years, but
I
it's
believe there was
worth
like
the-
some van concepts floating around from Bologna launch asking for something like this, and we've finally found a way to reinterpret it in our own way and make it really unique to Smite, but still fit the genre. I think it's awesome. You're the expert
Yeah,
though,
I know.
Isaiah. You're the
Ajax
expert.
Yeah.
cosplay.
She's heading to class during the day, and then the after-school club, she's just a demon hunter. That's all you. That's all you
Hair is
need.
really
That's the
nice as
plot.
well.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And then the last up we've got for the Grim Omens Chapter 4, we're going to show off the chapter reward, Striking Machina Ymir. And this one looks super
Damn.
cool. All the details and stuff are awesome.
Yeah, we really tried to push it here with Ymir, changed his core body type in a way that makes him feel unique. This one is a tier 4. It has some additional animation changes. His ultimate animation, he kind of like almost like rearranges his body part into this swirling power.
There we go.
Oh yeah, look at that fancy wall.
Oh, I love the like even the details in the wall and even his model. Like you can see through like the little openings from the constructs floating around. It's super cool.
He's got almost like a rocky and electric feel to him as opposed to icy, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, let's check out the ultimate.
Oh, nice.
Oh my goodness, that's
It's
insane.
like a generator almost, you know?
Super cool. But yep, this is the unreward for Chapter 4 in Grim Omens. As long as you guys get everything in Chapter 4, you'll get this skin for Ymir. No worries if you've already bought all. You've got that Tier 5 Hu Yi, and you'll get this Ymir skin whenever the patch launches.
Nice.
Next up on the list, let's check out Nautical Legionnaire Achilles. This one is super cool. He's kind of like a deep sea warrior.
How fitting for the Cthulhu patch.
Yeah, nice.
I know, right? It's like we planned it.
Is he fighting against it? That's what it looks like there. He's trying to fight.
It sure looks like it.
Oh my goodness,
so
the details look super cool.
This one, of course, also features the armored, which we're seeing at now, and the unarmored stance, which, you know, he has a fully modeled and rigged face, an animated face underneath that. It looks really nice. Kind of along the lines of some of our other D skins, Nox and Vulcan. But we hadn't done a real kind of male deep sea character, right? Vulcan was more of a push in the creature direction. We have Scylla, and so this kind of helps round out that theme in a really nice way. I really like it. It looks great. And shout outs to Tina really for cheering for this skin for a long time. Finally making it happen.
Nice.
Cool. All right, we've got just a couple more skins coming up for you guys. We're getting into summer. That means it's time to start talking about Independence Day coming in July. We've got a couple coming in the Independence chest. The first one is going to be Freedom Retriever Anubis, and he is a good boy, as you guys would like to say.
What a boy.
This one's awesome.
Yeah, I've got some
Anubis,
notes from the animation team. Apparently, in his ultimate, he just pulls out a Gatling gun, and it's just like just goes to town on people.
He does. He's using a variety of fireworks and weaponry all together in all of his American glory.
He's got the eagle tattoo. Oh, he's
yeah,
ready to go.
He's flexing right there. Damn.
He's a good doggo.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this one's super cool. All right, and then my favorite skin of the patch, also coming in the Independence Day chest, is Presidential Punisher Yana. And this one is just
this one's
so
crazy.
Like,
we've done a lot of crazy 4th of July stuff, but this one is straight crazy.
The voice pack is insane. You guys will have to check it out in PTS, but
yeah,
it's by far one of my favorite voice packs.
We have true mecha hologram Abraham Lincoln blowing you up in Smite, which is just unbelievable to me.
Dishing out the damage 7 years ago.
Yeah. The 4th of July skins are always a really fun brainstorming process and always trying to come up with some crazy stuff. And we're pushing ourselves harder each year. It's you know, we keep saying how are we going to top last year, and this is some pretty crazy stuff.
For sure. Super excited. All that stuff is coming your way in the Great Dreamer update. But there's something else coming your way in the Great Dreamer update. It's time for us to finally show off for our newest god, Cthulhu. Prepare for madness. It starts right after this. man, I get goosebumps. Final shot every single time. It's so good. But let's go ahead and get right into it.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's so good.
Yep.
Cthulhu, guys. Who is he? Tell me about Cthulhu.
Well, Cthulhu is the most well-known creature from horror mythos crafted by some early English literature of the author of H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft's unique take on horror in a way that is like infinite despair and hopelessness, and making us feel like just tiny specks in this infinite universe of way more powerful creatures. It was revolutionary for the time and really unique, and has created a whole genre of games, movies, TV shows, and additional literature. Cthulhu, one of the most well-known and most popular characters from that mythos. Cthulhu himself is specifically the high priest of the great old ones. So in many ways, he's their speaker or their keeper, their representative to these beings that are even more unfathomably powerful.
Yeah, he's primarily featured in the story Call of Cthulhu by Lovecraft, and we did a lot of research into who he is and how he belongs into SMITE. Generally, we've been focusing on Cthulhu in Lovecraft's works. We haven't really looked into the greater Cthulhu mythos as a whole, because that incorporates a lot more from the co-writer and publisher and August Derleth. So there's a lot more that can go into it, but just in general, in SMITE, Cthulhu is like AJ said, the high priest, and there's a lot of bigger, badder, scary things out there. But Cthulhu on the battlefield, well, he's going to be pretty scary too.
That's a good note, though, to say we specifically did look at our referencing entirely from the original works. That's what's important to us as a mythology game and a historical game. So we're not looking to adapt anything from any other modern adaptations. This is all our own and all taken from the original works. Yeah. And as you can see, controlling Cthulhu around the battlefield, he's a bit of a big boy.
He's large.
Yes, he is definitely big.
The size of Jormungandr. But going right into it, I know people want to see and talk about Cthulhu. So yeah, the first thing you notice, he's large. He's got a tall camera point of view, a little bit under Jormungandr. His basic texture I want to talk about first. Actually, wait, do we want to just go and just
let's just
Pon is our driver for today. Let's let Pon go crazy.
Let's just do the things.
Oh
there
my
he is.
gosh, this is nuts.
We weren't joking.
Oh, this is so cool.
Yeah. Pretty insane.
The big playable character. He gets larger. I know some people were trying to understand, what is, I saw the data mine. What does 3.5 mean? Is he going to be bigger than Jormungandr? Is he going to be bigger than Jormungandra's ulti? He can't be bigger than that in Vamana, right? Well, he is definitely the biggest thing we've done.
Yeah, he really is. And there's no better word to describe him than insane. Am I right, Clumsy?
Yeah, absolutely. So a disclaimer as well. We're PTS will be later on this week, I believe. But even right now, there's going to be a couple of things that are still in the temporary state. I think mostly some sound effects that are still coming in, and there's a couple of bugs here and there. But we'll have those noted down. And obviously, anything that you guys see, let us know. Let's let you guys know beforehand.
Cool.
But
all right,
let's go ahead and start a lot of unique features.
Yeah, so I wanted to start with his basic attacks, because that kind of starts it up a little bit, but although his passives are pretty important too. But for his basic attacks, he has a 3-hit chain. The first one's pretty normal, but it's a longer range, so it's the 16-foot kind of range for all three of his for the first basic attack. The second one's actually a 20 range, and the third one is also a 20 range and a cone attack.
He's just so big, having little tiny basics on him felt really strange, right? Yeah, so he's got a very unique hit chain. 16, 20, 20, and the third one is a cleave, which is really good.
The third one also applies something else, which I want to get into immediately, which is a part of his passive. So Cthulhu's passive is Prey on Fear. Basically, there's a kind of a unique gameplay hook to it, and then there's an actual visceral part where Cthulhu's the third basic attack specifically, and different parts of his abilities apply 1 stack of torments. When you 4 stack torment, the enemy goes insane, which is kind of the effects you see right there. If you go insane, well, some pretty crazy stuff happens when you show that off to you.
Ooh.
So there's a little preview for his ability 1.
There we go. This is
now we're insane.
This is purely on something that you see in your client. You are insane from the Cthulhu, and you can see that you've been brought into his universe just a little bit. You've got the tentacles, you've got the creepy eyes, a little bit of post process, and some audio hallucinations. But to explain that passive a little bit more, once you get to 4 stacks, you go insane. And the actual part, which will be displayed as passive meter, of course, that's temp right now, is that if Cthulhu is nearby any enemies that are insane, he gets 25 power per enemy that's insane.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Nice.
So Cthulhu wants to drive everyone insane, right? This is kind of part of his absolute essence as a character. He drives people insane just by being around him, just by being near him. Even gods fighting against him is tiring for them, right? It's mentally taxing for them. Fighting against Cthulhu as a god slowly drives them insane too. If you're an enemy god and you go insane, you're gonna see those eye tentacles all over your map. It's a relatively long debuff, but Cthulhu can break you of it for an additional bonus, which we'll get into in his ability 1. But if you're insane, you're going to see those crazy effects and distortions. You're also going to hear phantom ability audio, right, Clumsy? So you're going to hear blinks and Loki stealths. Even if they're not in your game, you're going to hear those fake sounds to really kind of scare you.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
so those are kind of the audio
super scary.
But Insanity itself lasts for 20 seconds, but as we talked about, Cthulhu's AO1 is a massive component of this kit. I want to go into that quickly because that kind of changes the way and influences the way you play through the torment. So right now it's just a count ability, pretty fast. There's a blast of energy, and it also reduces enemies' attack speed that are hit. Also, if you are hit by this ability, it's what we saw a little bit earlier, where you'll see Cthulhu as kind of like a superb creepier material, and you're going to be doing less damage to him. So that's that mitigation that we talked about. You're going to be doing 20% less damage to Cthulhu. It also applies 1 stack of torments, but 2 stacks if you are facing Cthulhu. So that means this is your primary way of increasing torment outside of the basic stacks. But the important part is that if there's an enemy that's already insane and you use Sanity Break on them, you consume your insanity and you fear them for a short duration. You gain a permanent stack of mitigation for the next time you use the ability. So if you actually look, right, like I said, this is going to be involved in the passive meter, but for now, if you see that AUX number 1, that means he's used it twice, 0.5 damage mitigation per stack. So the next time you use your AO1, you're going to be 21% mitigation rather than that base 20%. And that stacks up to 20 times, going from 20 to 30%. But that's going to come into play again a little bit later on. Of course, the patch notes I think are already out there so you can see the exact numbers, and I don't want to go into that. But Sanity Break and the 3rd hit of the basic attack are what apply torments, but we'll get into the 2nd and 3rd ability now as well.
Cool. Let's go ahead and talk about the Mire.
All right. Cthulhu's secondly is the Mire. It starts out of a smaller range, and Cthulhu can channel this for up to 3 seconds. As he channels it, it gets larger and larger, and it fires out 2 pulses from the maw of the portal. If you look at it, it's an awesome-looking, creepy maw that's firing out these sludges of corruption. The Mire itself, the foil on the ground, just does a 10% slow. So that area is only doing a slow. Once you hit the first corruption shot, it does a heavier hit and a 35% slow. And then the second shot does a similar damage hit, same as the first, and does a root instead. So this goes from a 10% slow to a very short 35% slow into a root. So Cthulhu
is a guardian because he's large and magical, right? It makes the most sense.
Exactly.
And this is his primary AoE CC ability, which is really important to a guardian type gameplay. Whether you're going to play him in the solo or the duo lane, being able to learn the timing for this ability and learn the positioning for it to lock down your opponent team is going to be really important for your team to win. It also should be noted that this is a channeled ability that is easily interrupted, right? So you can be hit by stuns or silences, etc. while channeling, and Cthulhu will cancel it early and will not get the additional. The ability does not grow unless he's channeling it, so you can go ahead and cancel it early, as our driver there just showed.
A single corruption shot.
Yeah, you can get a single tick of damage.
There won't be anything else but that just 10% slow. Also, each shot applies 1 stack of torment. With this ability, you're going to stack up to a maximum of 2 torment, which is why Ord and Box are going a little bit more insane as they fire. Right there.
And how many stacks of torment are they going for, Clumsy, for the sanity break?
So they're going for 4 stacks provides
4
insanity,
stacks.
And this ability.
Yeah, so you can, and then 1 more. Okay.
Yep. And
so you can get 2 from the 1, 2 from the 2, up to for stacking the passive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, conditional 2.
Conditional
and the
2
third
on
ability,
both, right?
Rushing Terror. Well, we think we saw this a little bit. This is a dash that Cthulhu does, but before he does the dash, he creates 2 projectiles to his left and his right. So if we see him fire this out, this is one of my favorite like sounding and feeling abilities. Quick fire dash. If you hit an enemy, you deal damage. You stun them slightly, you knock them to either the left or the right, depending on which side they're closer to, and they're most likely going to be hit by the forward projectile that kind of catch up to you. The projectiles themselves just deal damage as well at the lower amounts, but the charge and the projectiles apply 1 stack of torment. So the Mire, Sanity Break, and Rushing Terror here can all provide up to 2 stacks of torment. Again, you only need to get to 4 stacks, so if you can use your 2 and your 3 in succession, you can get really close to the enemy to do a quick clear Sanity Break.
This dash here has such a great animation timing on it. I love how like weighty he feels, really fits to his theme really well. The projectile effects we did of these like creepy corruption areas that are following in the wake of Cthulhu, this ability really tied together thematically and is just really useful for his kit in a way to gap close, so he can continue to just wail on opponents.
It has a little bit of delay on canceling, so you can right cancel out of the charge, but you can't do it immediately.
Oh, it's a good point. Good point.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into his ultimate ability, the grand finale, Descend into Madness. What's going on with this ultimate ability?
All right, there's a lot of different things going on. So it is technically a stand switch, right? Because you're going to be gaining access to 3 new abilities. The first of which, Sever, is technically, I mean, it's not a basic attack, but it's something it's an ability we want to function like a basic attack. So it has a 1-second cooldown and 0 mana cost. But we'll get to that in a second. Descend into Madness, well, it does a little bit of burst damage, and you can see your input methods immediately that first hit, which is Sever. But around Descend into Madness itself, it does some damage. It also increases your max health by 30%, and it applies Sanity Break in an aura around Cthulhu. Now, what that means is that damage mitigation from Sanity Break, as well as that kind of quest mechanic of earning more mitigation Sanity Break, applies to the ulti. That 20% to 30% is mitigation he will always have in his ulti form, as well as the max health. And I think that's pretty much the transformation of the ulti that does. I also want to say we've had an amazing job. It's a little bit buggy right now, but Juan, can you take us into the sky just real quickly? So one thing we wanted to make sure is that when you descend into Madness, we bring everyone on the battlefield into Rillier, and you can forgive my pronunciation of that. But there's still some tweaking to be done. But this is, a little bit less noticeable maybe in Conquest when you're looking at Chaos, but in other maps as well. Like it's really, I think, pretty awesome. The artist did a fantastic job. Shout outs to Ramon.
We definitely need to get a second perspective of the other Cthulhu alting, if we can set that up. Fighting against this ultimate is just such a unique experience. You really look at like an unbelievably huge character, and most importantly, as we really wanted when we were designing Cthulhu, we know it was really core to his mythology and his lore to be like a giant creature, wading out of the ocean. But we didn't want to design another ability like Jorm's.
Yeah, look at that.
Look at that coming at you.
Just a quick pause as well, because here, with we have Cthulhu's point of view. If you were someone smaller, I mean, God forbid you're a Ratatosker looking up at this guy, it is terrifying.
Yeah. But we wanted to keep him in the play space. We didn't, essentially, you could even compare Jorm's ult to something almost like Rama ult, where you're really out of the play space and you're just attacking the area. People can't fight back against you. And we were like, what's something that we could really make feel like Cthulhu, really feel like you're battling against this crazy monster, is we wanted people to have to fight back against it. So Cthulhu is fully damageable. Although he does get some significant buffs to how much damage he takes, but you can fight back against this Cthulhu even during this state. Although it is no easy task to fight back against him, you're most likely going to need some help from your teammates.
And seeing 2 Cthulhus fight against each other in Big Boy Farm is also something else. It's like 2 kaijus fighting against each other. Just watching them.
It is really fun, and we've had it a lot in our playtests. And I'm sure since this god is going to be so high, people are going to want to play him on both teams. You're going to get that. You're going to get that feeling a lot. Although I would say in most of the cases, it's not really worth your time as a Cthulhu to be wailing on the other Cthulhu. You should be using this ability to be running down the enemy carries, the mages or the hunter. Really use your tankiness to pressure them out of the fight so your team can follow up.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
so
for
going
sure.
through his ability real quick, Sever, which I talked about a little bit earlier, it's his basic attack like ability. It's a 1 second cooldown, 0 mana cost, and it just deals damage to the area in front of you in 3 projectiles. You can only get hit by a maximum of 1 projectile. Also, the ability does not apply item effects, but it does apply a damage protection shred debuff, which stacks up to 5 times. So every time you hit someone with that, it shreds their protection by 3%, up to a maximum of 5 stacks. So you kind of are incentivized to keep people, going. If you can get out of the melee range, you have a chance of not getting shredded even further and taking any more damage. But I mean, Cthulhu, he's not getting a movement speed increase. He's just really large, so it's running away from him is a little bit hard. And it's even harder when you incorporate his second ability in that form, Devastate, which all it really is a projectile fire AoE that doesn't knock off. So projectile AoE knock off on I think a 5 to 6 second cooldown, so pretty middling, especially when you incorporate the duration of this ability, which can go from 12 to 16, I believe.
This is just absolutely amazing. Sorry, I'm just awestruck
yeah, I was
here. Can't even talk.
But might as well start with Transfuse, which is the third ability. It's an AoE around him, and what this does is it actually heals your allies, but it takes away health from yourself. So it's got a little bit of Guardian aspect finally getting in here, right? So he's transferring some of his health to provide allies around him power, movement speed, and some max health as well. So it actually hurts Cthulhu to do so. It also does a little bit of damage to enemies. It's probably the weakest of the ultimate abilities, and it has a little bit of a fall off depending on how far away you go as well.
Character I think came together in so many amazing ways. Clumsy, gotta hand it to you and the team.
Yeah, I think this guy is insane. I'm happy with how he's turned out. Also, I'm so proud of the team. Like you mentioned, a lot of his development, the majority of it, has been working from home.
Yeah,
that just
almost fully from home, really.
The animation team, the effects team, the modeling team, like the materials. There's so many people that I want to shout out that I can't shout out. But I know the programmer Alex has just been working day and night to make sure even the camera, the small things like the camera and the ultimate, feel fantastic. Because there were times where we had to sacrifice certain things, and now you can just see how awesome he is. You can see you are playing this massive behemoth in this world of gods who are also huge, but they're nothing compared to you.
It is really, this was no easy god to design. Clumsy and I were in conference rooms debating over future designs for some of the longest times I've ever seen, but we found something that really worked for him, and the art team, we can see just the model of Cthulhu that we shared on social media. That is going like straight viral. People are impressed with our artwork all across the game industry and even just games and movies and everything. It just really shouts out to our team what they can do, and they're able to do all of this while stressed out from crazy news and being working from home. It's just I'm so happy for the SMITE team. Really just can't thank them enough for their hard work.
For sure.
And one other quick note, because I heard someone making sure they wanted to see Cthulhu's ulti. You are CC immune the entire duration, so you don't have to worry about being banished by a Janus portal or anything like that.
Oh, his voice is so good too. We have to hear more of that.
His voice is phenomenal.
Yeah, we've got some awesome voice lines coming up a little bit later. But
okay.
For his playstyle, what are you guys thinking? Mainly bruisery, solo lane. Where do you guys gonna fit?
So
we said solo originally, but lately he's been really showing up in the duo, right?
We knew going in that he's going to be an aggressive Guardian, right? We wanted him to be a Guardian. We wanted him to hurt, because he's Cthulhu. He needs to be there. He can't be a backline support Guardian. So we instinctively thought that's going to make him really strong in the solo lane. We didn't really want to shoehorn him anywhere, right? When we're gods, we don't go, okay, he has to be in this lane no matter what. We just wanted to create Cthulhu, a damaging Guardian. And initially, we did a lot of tests in the solo lane. He feels pretty strong. He can definitely compete with other strong solo laners. And we definitely did some support tests as well. He was a Guardian after all. But what we started to notice is that as we were tweaking his balance, he became a little bit of a stronger support at Guardian than a solo laner almost, because things like the Mire Rushing Terror, you can hit the minion wave and the other two characters, or at least one of them, while in the solo lane, it's a little bit hard to get that entire cleave damage on the one person who's really prepared for it. Also, the ultimate, Descendants of Madness, is way easier to chase one of those two Swish guys down than this warrior or guardian who's likely going to be building defenses against you.
Well said. Yeah,
Just
really.
giving you guys an idea on Cthulhu's scale here. But yeah, again, I want to shout
He
out
makes the
the entire
pyromancer look
team.
tiny.
Yeah, Cthulhu looks absolutely amazing. But let's go ahead and break down some of the recolors and mastery skins that we've got ready for you guys. The first one is Cosmic Horror, his standard recolor. And Cthulhu's original model is kind of green, but a lot of people were asking for the purple, and this one looks awesome as well. So we can kind of show off the model and listen to a voice pack line as well.
Cool.
Sleeping under the water, descending from the sky, lingering in the minds of the mortals. I wait, I watch, I hunger.
He's so creepy. Oh my gosh. All right, the next one we've got up is Ascended Cthulhu. You guys are going to be able to unlock this recolor from the Season Pass 2020. A little bit more rich tone, but this one looks amazing as well. Let's take a model and listen to another voice line.
You'll be crazy if you think I wasn't gonna add that line. Had to be
Oh,
in
of
there.
course. That you had to, right? That's so
Had
awesome.
to be in there.
That was him speaking his native language, right? We're not supposed to understand that in English.
No, that is purely from the story.
Yeah, that is the invocation of a Cthulhu,
Yep.
right? Yeah, love it.
Cool. All right, we got Mastery Skins up next. We'll kick it off with his gold skin, and I believe we have maybe one more voice line that we can listen to while we look at the model.
Cool.
You all live a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity.
This one looks so cool. And then
Yeah,
here's
we-
the legendary. I
Ooh.
love the black and
Ooh,
gold.
yeah.
Man, so good.
Always
we did
my
a lot
favorite.
of references from the stories, like I said, to make sure that what he says, his personality and everything fits. I know there's a couple of questions on his base green color as well. People expected since the other skins were purple, but that is the normal color for Cthulhu. He's more aqua green and under the depths kind of feel.
Oh yeah, he had to be green for the base. That's just clear. That's clearly described in the texts.
But seeing the purples and the reds, the recolors, just makes it like you have all the
I know,
choices.
right? And the diamond skin looks really awesome as well. We got one more point about Cthulhu before we wrap up. The Destroyer God. Cthulhu is definitely going to be destroying some things, but JJ, I think we have a little bit more to talk about, right?
Yeah, this is a fun story. People keep asking us, you're trying to put the spoilers together, and obviously for this character, people were really trying to put the spoilers together. So we wanted to just give a little bit of clarity. So at the beginning of season 5, we hinted towards a destroyer god. Now that destroyer god was left really vague. It actually left vague kind of on purpose because we had really about 2 or 3 gods narrowed down that all could have been the destroyer to us. What we can say now is that Cthulhu was one of them. However, though, we didn't like that timing for that god, so we changed it up and we went into the god schedule that we saw now. So Cthulhu was one of those destroyer options, but that's not to say that we're still not very interested in the other destroyer options, and likely there might be even more destruction coming up later this year for the SMITE universe. So don't really want to say anything about who we could be considering, but we just decided to take things in a different direction, and that doesn't mean that that whole concept is really gone, but it's also not really completed yet either. So those of you who still want to speculate about a destroyer god coming up in the future are welcome to continue your speculation about who it might be.
You heard it here first. There's might be even more destruction headed your way coming in the SMITE universe. But that wraps it up for our show, guys. Thanks so much for joining me today and hanging out, showing off Cthulhu. We've got PTS coming out on Friday. Be sure to, keep an eye on our social media channels. We'll be sure to update you guys whenever we have it ready for you guys. We all know that you're looking forward to it. We've got another show headed your way this week in SMITE. Be sure to keep it locked, and we'll see you next time.